Well, folks, I am your host, Aaron, and I want to welcome you to another episode. Today, we're going to have some fun as we look at a really unique blade. Now, this was gifted to me from a buddy of mine. Thanks, Josh, you rock, buddy. He got this in a battle box setup, I believe, and he's like, dude, I'm an axe guy, and I just don't know what I would ever do with this. So he handed this off to me to give you guys a full, honest, comprehensive video. Now, this is a chopper. It's the SOF chopper from Sniper Blade Works. Now, it's made in El Salvador, and from the lines and the design, I would say it's probably made by Condor Knife and Tool for Sniper Blade Works. That's what I would assume. It's made out of 1075, and it has stamped El Salvador on the back. So what this is designed for, as you can see, is basically like that machete chopper. I mean, chopper's in the name. So it's supposed to be a large tool that you can swing, do a lot of, chopping and hacking and, splitting and that type of thing. So we're gonna run it through its paces, see what this thing can do, things I like about it, things that I'm not digging about it, and give you guys that honest feedback so that you can decide if this unique, larger blade is worth looking into or if it's better to just pass on.
All right, so I have taken this out here back at the tabletop, and we'll be running in tons of footage as we are discussing this blade and as I go through specs. We're going to be running in some other big choppers, including Essie Hungulus, Becker BK9, and some other tools that we'll be looking at today. Comparable price points, materials, all that jazz. So this definitely has that bolo, machete style. It's got a full flat grind. We're going to be looking here at 1075 steel made in El Salvador. The things that really stood out to me right away is this recurve is massive, giving you that huge amount of belly, giving you a really nice sweet spot right here. You got that nice snub nose that you're going to see in a lot of like machete and bolo styles, with that recurve there, giving you kind of that focus point for finer cutting as well. They did some cool kind of little aspects to the knife as well. Most knives would not take the time to uncoat or just coat the sides, but they ground the back so you can absolutely throw sparks with that. So that's a huge plus. So I liked that aspect a lot. And then made out of 1075 steel, as I said earlier, El Salvador. I've been using 1075 now in several scenarios. It might be good for jungle stuff, green material. It doesn't have a lot of meat to it. It's easy to slice through it. It's, that type of thing. I'll tell you, for where I live in the Rocky Mountains, I'm not really so far impressed with 1075 steel. It dulls on me faster than 1095 by a lot. Particularly the Condor, which I'm assuming made this tool's 1075. I want to like it. In concept, I understand that it would be very tough, durable, but when it comes to actual edge retention and fact of not burring and chipping, I'm just not impressed with it. Every time I take it out, you can already see there's a big giant nick right there. When I'm going through, and I'm just going through pine. That's what we have here in the Rockies, is like cottonwood, some cottonwoods, aspen and pine. That's like 90% of the wood that we go through. So the 1075, not impressed. 1095 from all of my different brands, Essie, K-Bar, Ontario, go down the list. They're going to hold a better edge for a longer period of time than 1075 that I've tested out and reviewed, and the 1075 that you're going to find on this blade. Now, the overall blade length is 9 inches. Actual cutting edge is 8.75. So just a hair under 9 inches, and then you have a thickness of 0.19, so not quite quarter inch. That's a good, I think, a weight to it in the sense of its thickness. A quarter inch would be overkill, and an eighth of an inch would be just purely machete work and would be useless, out in the woods, in the environments that you're seeing this test out and reviewed in. And what we're going to be looking at is an overall weight of 1 pound, 1 ounce. So, you're looking at like 17 to 17 and a half ounces overall weight. My Carta handle scales pinned in with those tubes right there, and then the nylon sheath. So, actual performance on the blade end of the tool. For me, what I found was that basically this is a chopper and nothing else. The sweet spot is really nice. It connected really well. It took out good chunks for the weight of being, that just around a pound, just over a pound, in weight class. Really did well, connected really nicely, and just chunked it out. I was really happy with that when you're hitting this sweet spot of about 3 inches near the end there. Really, think of a baseball bat. I was a baseball player for years, loved it. When you hit that sweet spot, it's just boom, and it feels perfect in your hand. The bat feels awesome as the ball goes flying out there. That, as long as you hit it right there, I mean, you're solid. The downside was that because of the full flat grind, and you'll find this when you are batoning, if you're having to split wood, which, we were out there. Half the trees that we were chopping and working on were buried under snow, so they're damp and wet, and if I just throw them on the fire's going to have a really hard time, versus if I split them down and get the core of them opened up, then it's way easier for it to burn. I'm not gonna be constantly trying to fight and breathe on the fire and blow on it, try and keep it going. And so what I found was that this bound up a lot, and you're gonna find that with almost every full flat grind style of blade in these larger sizes. They just don't split like a saber grind does. There's no shoulders, so they tend to bind up, and I saw that with this one. It was binding up a lot. I was really having to pound through it, force it to get it to split the wood. So for the size, for the dimensions, and for what we're about to look at here with some other knives on the table for similar price points, it just wasn't super impressive to me at all when it comes to batoning. And then the other thing was that even though the edge geometry is actually pretty good back here for carving and making feather sticks, the problem is because of how sweeping and the recurve of the blade is, when you are making feather sticks and you're near the ground or a log or whatever, you're going to constantly be hitting the ground or your log with this portion of your blade, because it's lower than the portion you're trying to make feather sticks or notches or any of that type of thing. So it doesn't actually do well. You're constantly hitting the ground. It feels awkward. You're fighting with the knife. I believe that may have been how I got that burr back here, the deeper one, when I was doing that and trying to make a feather stick on a piece of wood, and then it hitting the ground, and maybe it was a little rock, or I don't know. That was annoying. So I'm constantly fighting against the blade and having to tilt it kind of in a weird way to get feather sticks going, that I don't find with most other knives out there. Again, with swinging through a jungle environment, yes, it will. The recurve and everything works great. And if you're standing and maybe just slicing a spear or something, sure, it'll work fine. But if you're trying to make feather sticks and notches, it just did not do a good job, and it was underperforming for me because of the blade profile. Next up was the handle. Now, the handle, I was like, wow, that could actually be like a really good angle, for chopping and that type of thing. And as long as you run the lanyard, like we've shown before, where you stick your thumb in, you wrap it around this way, now you're locked into place, and when you swing, the tool is not going to go flying out of your hand. It did well as long as I was backed up here. I didn't really feel any sort of shock, vibrations. The micarta, it did really well, held really well. The shoulders are contoured nicely. It's not blocky. So I was really happy with it back here for chopping and swinging. Worked really well, zero complaints, as long as you have a lanyard. If you do not have a lanyard, this thing's going to fly out of your hand after like 3 swings. So that is something to consider. Make sure if you are using this tool for whatever reason, the things that I list today, you feel like this is a good tool for you, make sure you have a lanyard, otherwise it will be flying out of your hand very quickly. Those tubes give you options, so you could even run it through the front end here, kind of give you more of like a saber guard kind of design, and then work it that way. I've done that in the past, so cool in that aspect. No moving or loosening of the handles, and good ergonomics again for chopping, which is what initially this is designed for. The problem that I ran into is this neck portion right here when you want to do finer cutting. When you choke up like this, and then you're wanting to either make feather sticks, or you're wanting to make a notch, or just want to do more control, the neck is too narrow right here. It would have been nicer if this had been way filled out more with my large size hands. Maybe that's the issue, I don't know. But I was having this gap when I grabbed the knife. There's nothing there, and so it fatigues your hand really quick. And you're wanting to, like, you got to cockeye your hand to kind of like grab the whole knife, and then again it just feels awkward. And then again with the recurve and all of it, it just was not done well. So if this actually had been about like filled out right here a lot more, that would have been awesome, instead of bringing it in so much. Really made it too narrow for me, and then you're constantly having like cramping in your hand because of how thin the neck of the knife is. So for swinging and chopping and machete work, absolutely, handle ergonomics were really nice, and the angle actually helped a lot. For finer cutting, notching, feather sticks, that type of thing, it's too thin in the neck area, and I was not happy about that. Do I even need to go into the sheath? I mean, it's bogus, super, super bogus. I guess if you go and purchase this just standalone, because again, this came in like a battle box or something that my buddy gave to me. I guess they've upgraded it slightly. It's some sort of like loop over nylon that maybe is better quality. This right here is junk, and I'm just not a fan of nylon sheaths in general. And that maybe it's really good quality nylon sheath. It has kind of that loop over tactical, you know, like jump ready look to it. I don't have it, so I don't know. The one that I got was just garbage and a total throwaway. And if this was your go-to knife, you would absolutely have to get some sort of Kydex or custom leather, and that's going to be very tricky because of the interesting handle and blade profile. All right, so we're going to talk price point and competitive options, and another reason on top of the stuff we've been talking about today. Well, I'll just be honest, guys, just not digging the blade. So what we have here is the ESEE Hungulus. We have, again, the Sniper Blade Works SOF, BK9, and then we have the Ontario SP5. Price, and we will have links in the description below over to Blade HQ as well as Amazon. That's a great way to help support the channel, helps me get out here, do videos just like you're seeing, take time off of work, take time away from the family, and get out and give you guys full, honest, comprehensive videos so that you guys can make wise decisions. And we get a small kickback from those hyperlinks to Blade HQ and Amazon. So at the end of this video, if these other knives connect with you, or for whatever reason, if this knife still connects with you and this just answers some questions you had, if you guys do use those hyperlinks, helps us continue to do what we do here at the channel. So this bad boy is gonna be coming in at about $135, which was really strange to me for an El Salvadorian made junk nylon, or maybe slightly better nylon 1075 steel blade. When we look at what else is on the market, I think it's pretty overpriced. We're looking at the ESEE Hungulus here, which is going to be better handle ergonomics overall for overall performance. It's going to be longer. It's going to weigh slightly more. It's just a better overall functional tool. I have a custom-made Kydex sheath, but the Kydex sheath that it naturally comes with is like the best stock Kydex sheath on the market, in my opinion, for a big blade. And this thing's going to come in at like 160. So 165 maybe. So, I mean, for $35 more, you're not only getting USA made, 1095, lifetime warranty, Kydex sheath, and an overall just better performer than this one that comes in about $135 that I was just not stoked with its edge retention, performance, handle ergonomics, and just overall design for what it can do, which is basically just chop good. That's all it can do. Whereas the other tools here can not only chop good, but baton well and do a lot of other work for you. The BK9 here, this is a tricked out custom BK9, but the stock standard BK9 is going to come in about $90. So, and that's going to have a better nylon sheath than what I've seen so far on this. Again, USA made, again, 1095, going to hold a better edge for a longer period of time. The saber grind is going to split way better. The handle ergonomics lend it to carve and notch better, and it's just an overall better tool. And without even tricking it out, you're going to pay $90 if you put my Carta handle scales on it. You're going to be about 130, and then if you want to do a custom Kydex, you're going to be at about the same cost as the ESEE Hungulus. And then finally, the Ontario, having that full flat grind, so it's not the best batoner out of the tools here, but this is coming in a little bit lighter as well. But it'll outperform in every other aspect except for chopping. The SOF will outchop it if you hit that sweet spot, but it's going to baton about the same, and then the Ontario will be a better notcher and carver and all the things that we've talked about. And this thing comes in, I think, at like $70 maybe. Again, USA made, $10.95. Better, edge retention, all those things. And so when we look at the price of about $130, $135, I'm just not seeing the value to performance that this tool offers.
So as we bring it to a close, folks, for the price, it's just not there for me. If this was like 80, 90 bucks, then I would probably say give it a chop, give it a try, if it was something that you were interested in. But for that, between 135 and 145, I mean, we're coming really close to a lot of premium blades like ESEE Hunguluses and, definitely over BK9s and like in price point. And you're coming up on, Tops knives and those type of blades that are just going to give you better quality steel. And I think for the most part, give you better sheath options as well as better handle ergonomics for the finer stuff. So that's really, for me, guys, it's just not something that I would ever throw that much money at, no matter how much I love big blades, and I love big blades. So that's me. It's a unique, tool, but I think it's going to be a very, very niche type of tool for very few people out there, in my personal opinion. I think there's some cool aspects to it, as we've discussed, like leaving the clear, you know, uncoated back spine. The sweet spot is really nice and can really perform well. But just for the price and just what else is out there on the market, it doesn't really stand out for me. So thank you so much for coming over here today, checking out the channel. I hope this video has helped you out decide if the SOF is the right tool or not for you. For me, I'm gonna pass. And finally, guys, check us out on all the relevant social media. That's a great way to see what's up and coming, projects we're working on. And finally, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.